Our internet bill went up?
Looks like you need Verizon Home Internet. No surprise price hikes or hidden fees, because nobody likes surprises.
Mic check, mic check. Here we go, here we go. All right, just like that, we're live. Thank you guys so much for joining tonight. Appreciate everyone tuning this in. Tuning this in. All right, a great start, but appreciate everyone tuning in, whether you're watching live or watching it back. Incredibly appreciative of that. So thanks for being here. Continue to document my journey along being a GameStop investor. Obviously, been talking about it for a couple of years now. Definitely, there's people who've been in it and talked about it longer than I have, but I'm just calling it as I see it as I go. And definitely one of the first things I'll get into is all day long, right? Kind of choppy in the beginning of the day, has a drop off from about 11 to 12, and then pretty much sideways until like the very last 15 minutes of trading, not even like a huge power hour move, just boom, all in one short period of time, right? Just huge amount of volume, huge move up. Could it have to do with some calls being exercised on Friday? Potentially, not necessarily, but certainly interesting to say the least. And then in after hours, we started to see another move up a little bit, and then it's kind of sideways ever since then. About another 30 minutes or so until after hours is closed. Then, of course, you have some people call it on X scam hours for Robinhood. And I take that with a grain of salt, right? Like, and I try not to check it because I feel like you drive yourself crazy if you're checking the price like literally 24/7 because you have Robinhood 24/7 trading when as it's put on X or Twitter, I was the one to come up with this like scam hours because it's technically not like trading hours, right? But I think it's not really worth looking at because it just kind of drives yourself crazy, right? Like I got the link to it because I found out you can look at it without being actually like without actually having the Robinhood app downloaded on your phone. So I was like, oh, okay, I have the link. Should I check it out? And then I'm like, why do I need to check this at 10 p.m. at night, right? There's no point. So let's hit the chat real quick. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Sup Tetron, JPP, thanks for being here. Hello, hello. Oh, that was me. Sup Tetron, Funny Spider, what's good? Ryan Sung, what's good? Yo, big game 7 tonight, Ryan. I bet you're watching after this. I know right after I finish up, I'm definitely going to catch some of that. Game 7's always exciting. Two amazing teams, Canucks, Oilers, should be a good one. I need my GME fix. Hey, Funny Spider, you came to the right place. Thanks for being here. Yo, here we are again. Sven, welcome back. Hello, hello. Manuel, thanks for being here. JPP, well, hello there. Yes, sir. Yo, 5 million, last 15-minute order. Wow, Blamo. Yeah, Patrick, listen. I didn't even see your chat and I was already talking about her off the bat. Literally, I didn't even check the stock that much, right? From like here to here, the last hour of the day, I was like, all right, whatever, it is what it is. I'll just look at it after. I look at like 4:15. I'm like, what the heck? Is this really green right now? Like, how did that happen? But hi, Tetron, Annie, thanks for being here. Good to see you. Feel free to correct me. I'm not sure if I read it correctly, but wow, yeah, no, I mean, like, let's look at it. Let's get the. These are 1 hour candles, right? So, or these are 30-minute? Yeah, these are 30-minute candles. So this one had. Let's see. How much volume is this? How come it's not telling me? Oh, it says about a million. Is that correct? That's what it says on the right here, but that doesn't seem right. I don't know. This take that with a grain of salt. But if you look at the daily volume here, 53 million total shares traded, which definitely majority of it was towards the end of the day, and today was still less than any single day last week, but definitely a lot of volume to end the day to say the least. And the low of the day was like 19, and then the close was 23.14, and then the high of the day was 23.36. So it pretty much closed just about at the high of the day. And again, we saw a little bit of volatility after hours, but yeah, what a time to be alive, right? What a time. Let's go. Yono Sabo, thanks for being here. Audio's a bit low. Oh, okay. Hold on, let's check it on the side thing real quick. Audio's a bit low. Oh, okay. All right, sounds a little better. Sounds a little better. I think it was farther away recently, but Tetron audio is always a bit low. I have to turn it to 11, but Tetron stream is worth it. Patrick, I appreciate that. Drop a like, peeps. Yes, sir. Yeah, no, maybe I really should probably invest in a new headset soon. Maybe it's about time. This one's all right, but it's nothing special. And damn, I'm just seeing. I know Ethereum, and I was going to touch on this a little bit later. Supposedly, it went from a 25% chance, right, to a 75% chance of Ethereum spot ETFs going through. SEC asks exchange to update 19B4 filings on an accelerated basis for spot Ethereum ETFs. So supposedly it's coming, and then Bitcoin's making big moves too. What the heck? Just give me some BTC, Bitcoin futures, I guess. But damn, 71,705. Bitcoin's crazy like that. It's like stagnant for so long, and then boom, out of nowhere, it's making these big moves, right? Like, I mean, obviously this is like more zoomed out chart, but you just look at like 1 month chart, suddenly just. But that's the way she goes with Bitcoin. And let's get back to GameStop though. I'm not going to get too much into Bitcoin or crypto until really the end. Because I feel like right now, why you're probably here, one is GameStop, and two, there's just so much going on with it, so much speculation. I'm going to get into this a little later. I'm sure you guys might have seen it floating around. Peruvian Bulls take on Rory Kitty's return and some of the options stuff going on, as well as swaps. So we'll definitely go over this real quick. But one quick thing, in case you guys didn't see it, in case you missed it, that's what ICYMI is, in case you guys didn't know. GameStop is now going to buy and resell PSA trading cards. You already know what the bears are going to say. Oh, you're going to think they're going to get rich? They're going to make all this money with trading cards? You're such an idiot. Oh my God, oh my God. No, it's just another step in the right direction and just continuing to expand and do the little things more and more, right? Or do more little things greater and greater. And I think, again, it's not going to be this mind-blowing thing like, oh my God, yeah, like this is going to save them, but it's just another step in the right direction. And I think there's absolutely a market for this. And whether it be baseball cards, Pokemon cards, and even now with why is the name totally slipped my mind, the crypto cards, or with the card smiths that everyone's always posting, there's more and more cards, right? There's always new cards, there's always cards people want. And yes, it's like a very niche market, but I think there's absolutely a market for it. And if GameStop could build a strong reputation, I think there's definitely an opportunity for them there. And maybe we'll get more information on this in the annual filing. I'm kind of hopeful of that, because I do wonder, are they only going to buy them off people? Because I know you can get cash today for trading in your cards. So I always keep using the example. I have this Aaron Judge card here. If I'm like, all right, you know what? Like, this is trading for, like, I'm seeing it sell for about 140, 150 online. But I want to get paid now, because if I list this, it's going to take some time. I got to go through the whole process. I just bring this right to GameStop. They'll give me like $100. GameStop can turn around and sell it for 140 on their website. People are saying, oh, well, why would anyone do that? I think there's definitely situations where people want to sell things quick and just get an asset off their hands, right? Especially when maybe some kind of emergency comes up, or just they have some kind of urgency where it's like, all right, I'm going to sell this card, right? And then GameStop is basically like a trade market for that. So we'll see what comes of that, if they build upon that in any shape or form. So definitely curious to see more on that. But definitely right now, a hot topic all of a sudden is the swaps. And, I'll talk about later. Also, I want to correct something. This is like the Archegos thing. I was trying to read through it again. Just about all the counterparties. And I kept saying in previous streams, for those of you that were here, that these basket swaps, like I was reading on it more today a little bit when I had some free time at work. All these basket swaps, right, with Archegos, custom basket swaps. Basically, their position was not what it seemed, right, because of these basket swaps. But I had it a little bit mixed up, because if you look at, I keep using like Paramount as the example, what was going on back here, right, where they made this huge move, they kept trying to make their position look better than it was. So they actually, like, they kept leveraging more and more and more into these positions, but they actually were using the same leverage, or the same like underlying assets, with all the counterparties. Like, oh yeah, like we have enough collateral, we have enough collateral, we have enough collateral. And then all of a sudden, like, they started getting margin called, and a couple of the parties involved, like Credit Suisse, for example, who kind of got left stuck holding the bag, was saying like, oh yeah, like we'll give you more time to work this out, get more collateral, right? Or like, give it some time, the stock's gonna change direction. And basically trying to pump it up, and got to pump it up, don't you know, pump it up. But basically they pumped this price high, right? Paramount and Discovery, because one of the other positions, I forgot the name exactly, had filed to issue shares, and that was hurting the portfolio. So because that stock was falling in value because they were issuing a bunch of shares to raise capital, then Paramount and Discovery, or Warner Discovery, right, they pumped these stocks higher because they wanted to show like they had more collateral within their portfolio. So then when Archegos blew up, which is right here, right, and we can see their very last swap trading dates, right, were 22, 23. And that's this week right here, where all of these blew up, because then when they got margin called and the whole thing blew up, completely collapsed, they had to sell all the shares they had. And on paper, it didn't look like they had enough shares to sell to make the stock move down more than 50% in one single day, but it's because it was all in the swaps. And once the swaps blew up, so just kind of goes to show you how something cannot be reported, right? It was never reported that Archegos had this massive position in Paramount or Warner Discovery, but they did. So that's kind of just wanted to correct on this with the swaps, where I was touching on it a little bit previously, but that's just some of the stuff that go on with swaps. And then Peruvian Bull wrote about this, and also he tweeted, like, listen, you should take it with a grain of salt, like as a kind of a follow-up thing, and I absolutely do think that, because the nature of swaps and just market mechanics is so complex, and there's so much we don't get to see as just individuals looking at the information, even if you have access to a Bloomberg terminal. It's just there's so many layers, right, and so much to understand. It's hard to ever truly know exactly what's going on unless you're the one, right, doing these basket swaps. You're one of the counterparties. Then you might have a direct insight, because also a lot of these trades go off exchange, right, and they're negotiated between two counterparties. So starts off saying, on Sunday, May 12th, exactly 1,060 days after his previous tweet, Keith Gill, known on Twitter as Roaring Kitty, emerged from his hiatus with a singular tweet portraying a man leaning forward in his chair, which I think is so funny. Like, that news articles literally had to talk about it. Like, it was such a high demand thing. Like, what's going on? And like, I was talking to my grandpa yesterday at a family party, and he's like, "What the heck?" Like, I don't even try to really get into it with them. He's like, "What the heck is going on? This is the most ridiculous thing." I'm like, trust me, it's not what it seems. And I basically said, I was like, well, do you really think individuals were able to move this stock this perfectly correlated, when back in the pandemic time, there was tons of stimulus, tons of people at home. So that was certainly a factor in that time. And when you look at the staff's report on the price action that happened, you can see majority of it, right, was actually my favorite chart right here. Majority of it was, of the total buy volume, was not short covering, short seller buy volume, right, which is short covering. A very limited amount relative to all the volume taking place. So that would mean it's individuals and options, right, for the most part, right? But having said that, what I was describing to my grandpa, it's funny, it's in Peruvian Bull's article that I see today, right? If you look at the personal savings rate, look how high it was in January 2021, when this previous sneeze or event, occurrence, whatever you want to call it, right? Look how high the savings rate was. Look at the average individual savings rate now. You really think people had all this, like, money to just suddenly flood into the stock? So to me, it's very obviously institutions. And Roaring Kitty coming back, yes, obviously there was some FOMO involved in that, right? There's definitely people just running for the doors, trying to get in, right? I gotta get in, I gotta get in. And then I'm sure there's people running for the exit by the end of the last week, like, oh, it's over, I got duped again, blah, blah, right? But what the mainstream media doesn't account for, and I think anybody who's been following along for a while now knows, there's tons of people like myself who've just been dollar cost averaging, just buy and hold, buy and hold, buy and hold, buy and hold, just continuously adding to the position the whole way down in terms of the stock price. So, sorry, I'm jumping around all over here, but just firing on all cylinders right now, so we got to get it out. Like, when in doubt, zoom out. Like, if you look at the all-time chart for GameStop, these are the monthly candles, and it's actually crazy, like, looking at this one. It still is a very significant breakout. Even if the month closes, let's say at 30, or even where it is now, it's such a significant candle when you zoom out and look at the monthly candles. And this is by far the most volume we've had since 2021. And the month is not even over yet. We still have, what is it, 9 more trading days, right? If you're not including today, we have 9 more trading days to go. So all just food for thought there. But that's where I also think, okay, this has to be institutions. It definitely does. And maybe someone was doing a little bit of short covering. Some would speculate that what happened in the pre-market on Tuesday, right here, this huge move, literally going from like $50 up to 80, double topping at 80 and never going back since, at least for now. One would speculate, like, why is that? You think retail just spent all this money at this exact moment in time Tuesday morning? Like, it just doesn't make sense. It just simply doesn't make sense. Not to mention the huge move here out of the gate and all the halting going on. So Again, all just food for thought. I'm never going to tell you like, oh, this is definitely what's happening. Oh, I know for sure. Like, I'm just trying to figure it out just like everyone else out there and just document as I go. But yeah, definitely an interesting chart. You know, if it holds this $19, $20 level, do we see it kind of run going into the annual earnings? And then also we'll get into it here. I think it's in this specific one where a lot of the swaps are expiring, right? That he was looking at least. A lot of the swaps were expiring throughout June. So this is the information here. So XRT, the retail ETF that contains a substantial amount of GME shares, also had record high volume that hasn't been seen since January 2021. Sneeze. The volume was the highest in the past year by a long shot, and a further 350,000 shares of the ETF showed up available to borrow on Tuesday, right? How does that happen? How does that suddenly happen? And look, this is 2021, right? Obviously, huge amount of volume relative to the other days. This is looking back. And then during the normal trading hours on Tuesday, the price was slammed all the way down to $36, a 52% decline from pre-market. During the rest of the trading day, the price recovered and finished up 44%, typical volatility for GameStop. Correct. At the same time, the amount in dollars of market loans tripled and the amount of hedge loans doubles from the previous Friday. Shorts were wagering their war, trying to reduce the pace of price appreciation by any means possible. The typical tricks of ETF borrowing and traditional shorting were being used once again. And as you can see here, market to loan balance, hedge to loan balance is for May 10th. Mainstream media came out and trotted the line that this was dangerous to our financial system, including former SEC Chair Jay Clayton, who paraded on CNBC and claimed the meme craze bothered him, that trading in GME should be halted. Right as these senators are making these massive trades, right? Totally fine. Rules for thee, not for me. It's extremely interesting to note the vitriol, big word for me, hurled at retail during market events like these. If GameStop truly is a non-issue and dumb retail investors are losing money, then why do they care? What do they care? The question I've asked myself for a long time. The underlying truth is that GME still represents a thorn in the side of short sellers, a position that they cannot cover, and a squeeze that was going to crush them until they turned off the buy button to get themselves more time. Total return and basket swaps have long been hypothesized to be one of the mechanisms by which short hedge funds and market makers can roll over failure to delivers and create more synthetics to short stocks. In March of 2021, for a period of a little more than 24 hours, a massive put position owned by Credit Suisse showed up in Bloomberg with a location identifier tagging Brazil as a source. And I think that touches on shell companies, and even what you see recently, there was something that came out about Apollo, right? Private equity creating shell companies to do some suspicious things with individuals' insurance. So I'm just saying it's possible, right? I can't tell you it's for sure, but it's certainly possible. And this is the screenshot. You know, again, it was just over 24-hour period. Lawson, who's a professor of finance, saw these puts and screenshotted them, and he reached out for comment when they erased the option positions and claimed it was a glitch. To settle a failure to deliver, you need either a share or a bona fide agreement from a share. This can mean an options contract, ETF shares that can be redeemed for the underlying basket, or an equity swap, among other things. All could be used to settle, or more accurately, roll a failure to deliver forward and kick the can down the road without having to deliver an actual share. For those who aren't familiar, an equity swap is a derivative contract where two parties agreed to exchange cash flows at regular intervals based on the performance of an underlying equity asset, such as a stock, a group of stocks, or an equity index. Again, just another example, Archegos. And you can see as things got more difficult for them, right? They went from, in 2020, a lot of swaps with emerging markets ETF, S&P ETF trust, like more just general swaps, and then there was not that many custom ones, and then all of a sudden a lot of agreements being made with all these custom basket swaps going on. And there was some speculation, you know, around this time GameStop made pretty big moves that they were in fact short GameStop in some shape or form. Again, all just food for thought here. You guys are all welcome to think whatever you'd like. But for those who aren't familiar, we got to that. It's typically one party makes fixed payments while the other makes payments based on the returns of the underlying equity. For instance, if company A has 10 million in cash but wants exposure to stock B without directly buying the shares, it can either enter into a equity swap with Bank C. Company A agrees to make quarterly fixed payments to Bank C at a set interest rate. In return, Bank C makes quarterly variable payments to Company A based on stock B's performance during the same period. This allows hedge funds, family offices was the case of Archegos, or other sophisticated investors to get synthetic exposure to an underlying stock without buying it outright and putting it on their books. It also allows them to get a bona fide agreement for a share, which can roll an FTD forward. Also, something which is very important to note, such as mentioned in this SEC comment letter, is that the counterparty to the swap holds the underlying securities as a hedge against a position. When it is unwound, the long investor can purchase these securities from the counterparty without hitting the lit markets. If the counterparty is irresponsible, this can mean that if the stock has appreciated, they will have to go out and buy equity shares in the underlying before expiration to deliver them to the long investor, causing buying pressure. So this is why a lot of people are speculating upon the swaps expiring over the next couple weeks. Again, it's just speculation. You should not buy strictly on that. I don't know what's going to happen. Peruvian Bulls doesn't know what's going to happen. Richard Newton doesn't know what's going to happen. Morant's Rants doesn't know what's going to happen, right? 741 Trey on Twitter doesn't know what's going to happen. White Rabbit 741 doesn't know what's going to happen, right? No individual truly knows what's going to happen tomorrow. I really believe that, and I feel like I can confidently say that. I think in the long term, you can have an opinion, but I think in the short term, just given what we've seen out of GameStop, you can guarantee there's going to be volatility, but you can't guarantee like what's going to specifically happen, right? And again, that's just my opinion. One of these instruments is called a cash-settled equity swap. Under this type of swap, two parties enter into an agreement that seeks to replicate the positions of a long or short investor in a particular public company. A long investor receives all the benefits of an increase in the stock price, along with the cash flows that replicate any dividends paid by the company. A short investor receives the benefits of any decline in the stock's price. Any differences are settled in cash, and the financial institution that is a counterparty to the swap often holds the underlying securities as a hedge against its position. If the swap is unwound, a long investor is usually able to immediately purchase underlying securities, thereby rapidly increasing its ownership position and securing beneficial owner voting rights without having to accumulate shares directly in the equity markets. So again, all just speculation here, but start to look for swap data and immediately began running into issues. Bloomberg makes it incredibly difficult. As I was saying, it's hard for any individual to truly get a look at what's going on, because even with the Bloomberg terminal, it's incredibly difficult to find accurate and up-to-date information. And their help chat was unresponsive. You would think with AI now, right? And every company having their own like chat GPT within. Even GameStop, right? Like they part of the company like Yobik, I talked about a little while back, where yes, not groundbreaking. Oh my God, they're going to make a bazillion dollars because of this. But no, they were able to improve their technology and their training resources and employees now, right? Let's say you're a new manager. Okay, like what is our policy on returning used games, right? Or something like that. They can put into their own essentially like form of AI that they've built. They're amassing it with like information that is like the company's policies and procedures. So if someone wants to look for it, they don't have to like scroll, like flip through pages previously, or just go through a long PDF, right? Which is what I imagined it was prior to Ryan Cohen. Now they can like actually search it and get real time. Oh, right here, here's some specific information on it, right? And it's essentially their own internal chat GPT. And a lot of businesses are starting to do that, right? Because as technology is evolving, every good business, in my opinion, has to continue to keep up with the technology. When we did find the data, strangely, we could edit some of the boxes, and the notional was steady at 10 million for every single trade. Because of the particularities around the data, we didn't trust this initial find as actual data for swaps. And here's some of it that is very strange. It shouldn't be like that. And then a lot of them see they start and then they end like 2 years later, or can't specifically see it there. Some of them, the time frames are different, but after this little setback, we began searching for other more reliable forms of data and stumbled upon a trove compiled from Discord user. It appears to contain CFTC swap transaction logs. When going through the massive data set, it goes back years, we found a huge amount of swaps expiring on May 31st, 2024, and in early June as well. The list was truly extensive. Look at all the expiries, and I'll make another quick point here as I talk about it. And as you can see, what he crossed out, as I referenced in the beginning, starting to talk about this, how he did correct some of the information, and I absolutely respect that. He's trying to report it in real time and describe how he sees it, but also, as I've said in the past, like nobody's perfect. People are gonna make mistakes, but it's about going back and correcting it and just trying to improve. So I absolutely respect Peruvian Bull for doing that. But look at all these expiration dates we have coming up, and then the notional amount. And then there's some for early June as well. And then someone actually commented on one of my tweets today. Shout out to you if you're here. I do apologize for your name. But someone commented like it was long theorized in post 2021 era, right? I would say about maybe the first half of the year, a little bit into the second half, that there was going to be this fake squeeze coming. Like there'd be a huge move up and then back down to try and get people to sell on the way up. And then the idea of, oh, well, the squeeze already squoze, right? All right, now it actually happened for real, right? Like, well, we're okay, for real, it happened. So there's some speculation on that. And someone commented on it today. It's like, well, maybe that's what happened in here, right? Like these 2 days was kind of like a warm up in preparation for these swaps. And that's maybe GameStop sees that in some shape or form, right? Because I would imagine, obviously Ryan Cohen is never going to come out and talk about this, but I would think he has to have at least a little bit of knowledge as to what's going on, and maybe not reading specifically what people like myself are putting out or Peruvian Bull, maybe Peruvian Bull because he's bigger than I, but you don't think he has some kind of knowledge on any of this going on? Because I also thought about it too, like why now would GameStop go out and put out the filing? And let me actually find it. Someone actually had a good reply on one of my tweets today. I love making the memes now. I'm really trying to step up my meme game. Forget GameStop. I just bought more. So funny. Was it here? Was it in here? No. I think it was actually in here under this. Yes. So shout out to Ape Daddy at GME Moonbound. So looking back here, like number one is where they issued the form 424B5, the same one they issued just in May of this year. And they actually didn't issue the shares, right, until April and June of 2021. So why now would they issue it here when it makes this big move? Are they anticipating another big move up? I think obviously in 2020 it was a little bit different. They didn't anticipate this ginormous move, but I don't know. I feel like why now is a little bit of a question I have, and not in a bad way, but just is there something the management team sees, or why in particular now do they identify this as a point in time? It's like, oh yeah, let's start issuing shares. And if you read the filing, it does say, and like just clearly state, like our stock price has gone from $10 to $49 on no fundamental change to the business, and has seen extreme volatility with no fundamental change. So to me, that's them almost indicating like, and again, just speculation here, like we expect more volatility in the future, and if the price does go up massively again to the $60, $80 range, we're going to issue some shares, take advantage of it, bolster our balance sheet more. And just like, I don't know if you guys saw the video I put out, whether it was on X, I also posted on YouTube yesterday, and I basically said, yes, they can keep stacking cash, but ultimately they do have to do something with it, right? Like they can't just keep stacking cash forever, and treasuries, like that's just not going to cut it, and the revenue is declining, so they do have to do something about that. Please don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like, oh yeah, all is fine and dandy, but they have more and more flexibility, right, as they have more and more cash on the balance sheet. And as long as they're maintaining profitability, at least breaking even, free cash flow can stay positive, then they can take the time to make these decisions. But also, on the other hand, it already has been a decent amount of time that's elapsed. So at some point or another, it's like, when are they going to make a move? And obviously, that's to be determined. And that's why I fall back to my belief in the management team, because I think that's really important, right? And just one thing I'm noticing as I'm talking right here, you can just see some of the strange things that go on. Look how huge this volume stick is, right? And how little this move is relative to, I mean, granted, this is the pre-market, and you don't need as much volume in the pre-market to make dramatic moves, but look how much movement there is, right? Tuesday during the day and even Monday during the day. And the volume sticks are a little bit smaller than this giant one right here, right? So what happened this Friday? It's like this huge decline. But again, I'm all just throwing this out here, all just food for thought, really all just food for thought. But thank you guys all for being here. Can't thank you enough. So, do you think GME will have a good week? Predictions? Powerhouse, thanks for being here. Honestly, I feel like we're going to be green on the week. I'll make that my prediction, but again, take it with a grain of salt. I don't do any kind of short-term trading. But I feel like it's going to be volatile, but not going to be like significantly higher or significantly lower than it is now. That's kind of my gut feeling. I always say, like, I don't really trade too often or mess with options. Although today, I did have the thought, I'm like, maybe I should sell put. And when I looked at it this morning, right, and we'll see if it's the same. And quick side note, I had the Barnes & Noble thing because I don't know if it's bots or actually people. Sometimes it's really hard to tell these days with AI. But people are like, oh, check out Barnes and Noble. Check out Barnes and Noble. Like, you could be the first to talk about it and make a video. I'm like, okay, that sounds like a bot. But I'll still check it out out of curiosity. Supposedly, my friend was telling me about it. They're doing this like preferred stock type of thing through the broker, or sorry, through the transfer agent, where you could get like a bunch of shares, like a penny or something like that. They have some kind of program going on. I don't know. I have to look into it, right? But I just kind of pull this up to be like, be careful. You know, every time there's something, the next GME, the next GameStop, the next meme play, right? Just like, whoop, not that. This article here, right? This, of course, this is first recommended on my Google. Ignore GME and AMC. Faraday Futures, the meme stock to watch. What the fuck is Faraday Future? I don't even know. But with that being said, you just got to be careful whenever there's the, oh, everyone's talking about it. This is the next big thing. A lot of times you unfortunately see this, right? And I'm not saying that necessarily Barnes and Noble, I say Bed Bath and Beyond. Too many bees around. Barnes and Noble is done, and I really hope Barnes and Noble survives because it's a bookstore. If people stop reading, I think our society's screwed. I'm not the best at reading, like, but I'm trying to just do it a little bit more here and there because I feel like it's good to just like fix your attention span. Just force yourself to concentrate on one thing. Like, okay, I'm not gonna do anything else. I'm gonna put my phone down. I'm not gonna have my brain overstimulated now. I'm gonna read a book. So if the one big bookstore chain that's left disappears, like, it's not good, right? And also, I think there's older people who enjoy going to Barnes and Noble, so it would be unfortunate to see them go under. But I digress. This is not a stream about Barnes and Noble, and I don't know the specifics of it going on. But oh, now I totally forgot where I was going with that. But oh, the price action for later this week. We'll see. We truly don't know, right? Like you go up, down, left, right, sideways, circles, and you know, looking at what Peruvian Bull put out. Where was I up here? I totally just zip out of it. Oh yeah. So there's a lot of options set to expire supposedly, right? So it will be very interesting to see if these impact anything at all. And then the 31st, that's next Friday. So I really think we might see even more price action, honestly, kind of next week than we do necessarily this week. But I think all the way up until earnings, we're going to see a lot of volatility. Unless something major comes out of earnings, then it might cool off a little bit. But it's all to be seen. It's definitely all to be seen. Favorite meme? I'll do it myself. Jackson's? Me too, man. Me too. Hey, gang. Interesting start to the week. Hope everyone's well. Dakota, thanks for being here. Oh, and I just remembered what I was going to say. I started talking about it, didn't finish it. I thought about selling an option, right? Selling a put. Because if you're not familiar, if you sell a cash secured put, that's a bullish position. Because if I, for example, right, the one I was looking at, not statistics, was a 1 month out, like the monthly put. Oh my gosh, what the heck? Options. I think it was, yeah, June 21 is the options, the monthly options expiry. So look at straddle. So I was looking at the $12 put, right? And it's only 44 cents. Earlier in the day, it was between 50 and 60. So that would mean I have to put up 1,200 of collateral, $1,200. And so long as GameStop's above $12 by its expiry date, I would keep the option premium I sold it for. So let's say I sold the put for 44 cents. I would put up 1,200. It'd be set in my brokerage account. And that 1,200 is locked up currently. Like I can't trade with it in any shape or form. If it's in Fidelity, for example, you would earn underlying interest. So I would earn a little bit of interest through the 1,200 being a money market account. And the current APY is 4.95% on Fidelity. I think it's the best in the market that I've seen at least. And then I would collect the $44. I can do whatever I want with that $44, right? I can trade with it. I can hold it. I can withdraw it to a savings, but I would probably just leave it, right? Because that's also in a money market fund. So long as GameStop was above $12 by this date, June 21st, 2024, then that 1,200 gets released back to me, and I get to keep this $44 as profit. So it's not a dramatic trade, but it's a solid like 5%, and earning 5% in about a 1 month time frame, I think is very valid and very worth doing, because if somehow GameStop did drop below $12, let's say on this date, June 21st rolls around, the stock's at $11 somehow. Okay, fine. I have to overpay a little bit at $12 a share. I still think $12 a share is an excellent entry price. So if you're going to sell puts, that's typically like the bullish strategy behind it. Because if it doesn't, right, then I could just turn around again and go to the next month. Let's say I go to July 19th, then I sell the same put, right? And I can just keep collecting premium. But where I'm going with this is, one, I put the money in my brokerage account. Okay, if I want to do it, then I realize I can't because it's going to take time to settle. So unfortunately, you can't sell a put right away. I wish you could, even though like I'm not going to trade it. It should just be like same as buying a stock, where you can usually do instant deposit. Actually, takes some time for your funds to settle, so you just can't sell it until the funds actually settle. But for whatever reason, you couldn't, and I might have missed the boat because what took place today is we didn't have as much volatility as we did last week. So we saw a huge drop off in implied volatility for options. So that's why you see here, if you look at all the puts, even though GameStop was down, right, throughout most of the day, most of these puts, even when the stock was down earlier in the day, most of these puts were falling in value because the volatility dropped off. So the best time to sell a put is if you're bullish on the company. Obviously, number one, if you're selling a put, you're bullish on the company, is to buy a put in a time where there's extreme volatility, because especially downwards, right? And it was kind of like the perfect storm with GameStop. For anyone that sold puts on Friday has probably already done very well, because we've seen IV drop off a huge amount for options. So even though the stock price has kind of moved sideways over the past 2 trading days, if you sold a put Friday morning, I guarantee you it would be up, right? Like if you look at any of these option prices, all of them would be down, right? Because when you're selling a put, you want the option to go down. So let's say I sold the $17 put last week, right? Or you can usually see like the specific one, right? Let's see if we can find that here. Go to the list. All options, puts, June 21. So yeah, usually you can pull up the chart, right? So let's say I sold this option. It's not the best looking chart, right? On Friday, or is it even, I guess it wasn't even around on Friday, but, oh no, yeah. Let's see. I guess this isn't a great example, right? Let's do a higher one because you could see it more greater. For me, like I like to sell puts way out of the money because I know GameStop and I know how volatile it is, and I understand it could drop a lot. So I don't want to necessarily be forced to buy at $15, $16. Not that I don't think that's a good price, but I just want to be able to buy in at an excellent price, right? Because as an investor, I always want to be able to buy as low as possible and then sell as high as low as possible. Right? Sell as high as low. Sell as high as possible, just generally speaking. But if you look at like the $25 put, right? If you sold this right here, right, it had a pretty good drop off. Obviously I'm not finding a good example, right? And it is all timing. And as you can see, I'm not the best person to be doing options. But the point is, if you sell a put and then the price even just moves sideways and the IV falls off, the put's value is going to fall. So if you're a put seller, you're in good shape. So if you were a call buyer, right, any call buyer who bought in like right here was in excellent shape last week because the price went up a lot and the IV went up a lot. So that's just like making calls go like, phew. So it's the opposite. When you're selling a put, you want to sell the put when the price is lower, but the IV is high. So again, that's just some quick insight on options there. I'm not the best at explaining it. Hey yo, what's up, Fresh Maker? Thanks for being here. What's up? Because I can. Today's chart looks like a cup and handle. Fresh Maker, yeah, a little bit. I mean, listen, like I was saying earlier, we held this past 2 trading days, not much movement in the stock, so we'll see if that continues. Yes, better audio now. Okay, finally catching up. Thank you. Yeah, I think because I didn't actually have the headset on the beginning, so I sounded far away. Volume went nuts today. Wonder what to expect next. I'm holding my seat in my shares. Danzo, good to see you, man. Thanks for popping in. Yeah, relative to last week, the volume wasn't that crazy, but the end of the day volume relative to the whole day, definitely pretty significant. Anyone snort the RM? Oh, snort the RK meme reverse movie. I watched most of it, long but made sense. Patrick, honestly, I did not. Shout out to Roaring Pika though. That guy is top tier with his memes. I feel like he's right up there with Roaring Kitty, but I'm sure you guys saw him. Oh my gosh, why is it all caps? But yeah, it's actually insane. 1.2 million views, and I saw someone else say this. I can't remember who, but also this is on perfect clear. Like I love Roaring Pika's account. I'm truly entertained by his memes, and I think he's got a good sense of humor. But I find it a little weird that there's 1.2 million views on this, and not like him as an individual. Just why did so many people see this particular tweet? I mean, I think there's a lot of people curious about it. But also, you saw like Wall Street Bets tweet about, and they tweet a bunch of bullshit right now, right? But they're tweeting referencing it, and it's kind of like, I don't know. I just wonder why, right? I'm also just in this mode too, and just how much has happened with GameStop over these past several years. I question everything, and I'm like, why could this be? Why is this? What is going on here? Is there something I'm missing? Am I overthinking this, right? So maybe I'm just overthinking this, but I definitely want to watch it. I'm curious. I watched it all, and it is safe to say that this is right order to watch it. Okay, so I feel like I have to watch it then. Fresh Maker, I trust your opinion. Where can I learn more about what a 3-year swap is? I hear everyone saying it, but I don't really know other than something to do with offloading risk for a fee. Patrick, I would just look up bullet swaps and equity swaps. Like there's a lot of different versions of swaps, and also if you look into custom basket swaps and you read this like Archegos report, it gives you a little more insight of it. And I would just kind of start there, looking up some of those terms, and then when you get articles or pieces of information, right, like such as what Roaring Kitty, or not Roaring Kitty, Peruvian Bull put out. If you're not sure of something, you just pull up your friend, ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Microsoft Copilot, one of those, explain this in simple terms, and then that's how I just continue to learn about it. But that's the thing, swaps are so complex in their nature that it's truly hard to fully wrap your head around it, right? And that's why also, yeah, there's a lot of swaps set to expire at the end of this month, at the beginning of June, but I also take that with a grain of salt. But we also know, if there is some kind of failure to deliver, it could be kind of rolled into the swap, and then supposedly the swap is supposed to own the underlying position. But as mentioned earlier in this article here, he wrote, if they don't actually own that position, they're a bad actor or not doing their part as the counterparty. They might have to go into the market and buy a large amount of shares at that time because they're supposedly supposed to have them to be underlying in what the position is. But again, I'm still just wrapping my head around it, guys. Really, some of this stuff I'm talking about in real time, just trying to understand more and more. But it's your daily reminder, hydrate. Sparkling water today. I was feeling fancy, so I was like, all right. What's so significant about tomorrow? We're going to GME. Powerhouse? Honestly, nothing. I really don't think so. I mean, for me, it's easy to say that because I've just bought and held for so long. I don't have to worry about tomorrow. Like, truly, no matter what happens tomorrow, unless we see like gazillion a share, it's like kind of like whatever. Let's go for 20 bong smoke. Listen, it's like I almost could just sense you in the chat. That's why I had to drink some water. But wish they issued warrant options tomorrow. That'd be pretty. Chris, thanks for being here. Listen, anything's possible. They theoretically could be issuing shares, warrants, anything like that at this exact moment in time. I don't necessarily think so. I think the price is going to have to make another big move upwards before they issue shares. And now they just have it in place where they could do it at the snap of their fingers if they so choose to. Zaddy, when is GameStop going up? Jordan, thanks for being here. I don't know. I'm not the right guy to tell you. Soon. A wise man once said, "Moas isn't today; it's tomorrow. If it's not tomorrow, then it's the next day." That's just what they say, not me. Reading is goated. GPP, you're absolutely right, man. You're absolutely right. I got to do more of it, and I have a bunch of just miscellaneous business books here. Even if you're not reading about stocks or even business, right? If you're just entertained with a good story, I think that's a great thing to do because just they say reading makes you smarter, and I really believe that's true because especially now, just with how everyone's attention span is, I feel like it's so important to just focus on the little things, right? But Wall Street tweet person is not related to Reddit Wall Street bets. Patrick, thank you for saying that because I thought I saw that somewhere, but I wasn't so sure about that. So that kind of makes sense, but still, I feel like it's all just like a bunch of nonsense, right? But how do we even know that, right? Maybe there's still some connection in some shape or form, right? Again, just strictly speculating here. But let's finish up going through this information Peruvian Bull put out. Shout out to him. He's been covering a lot of this stuff for a long time, and I really wish him the best in his journey. And I do agree with him in his assessment of Bitcoin. We've seen it make a big move all of a sudden again today. This is actual Bitcoin to US dollar, and I believe in Bitcoin in the long term as an emerging alternate asset class. And I think just with the way inflation's running and those signs of governments around the world stopping consistently printing money, I think there needs to be a way for people to store their value. And also, we're seeing gold and silver perform as well. And let me be clear, I'm not transitioning right now to be like, we're about to see a silver short squeeze, because all of a sudden I started seeing people say that again, and I'm like, and I think it was Wandering Gale, shout out to him. He was tweeting about it. He's like, feels like we're in 2021 all over again, because that was the thing after January 2021. It's like, oh, next is the silver short squeeze. And I'm like, what the fuck? How could a metal squeeze? That makes no sense. I mean, I guess there's some logic behind it if you look deep into it, but just looking at the 5-year chart of how a lot of assets have improved, right? Here's 5-year gold. Let's do silver. Or I guess we do technical gold, the per ounce, not GLD, but it's the same chart. Then Bitcoin, just all these alternative assets holding up very well, right? Just on a long-term basis, and just we're seeing all of them appreciate higher. And I really think it's because it's a situation where the dollar is just being endlessly printed. And also, I kind of been calling it like the forever bull market. Look at the S&P 500 on a 5-year basis. Remember when this drop happened? It's like, oh my God, it's going to take years to get back to where we were. Literally by like 1 year later, right? Or not even. From March 2020, and then by August 2020, we're already back where we were, right? And it just kept rallying, rallying, rallying. And obviously, 2022 was a rough year. That's when Bitcoin fell off after its previous rally. And 2023, we saw some nice recovery. And 2024, we've just been absolutely ripping, right? And obviously, the year's far from done. But I think you're just seeing cash just keep flowing into assets because there's just so much liquidity pumped into the market, so much cash is constantly printed, and it flows to the top. And just like day-to-day goods are being inflated, right? Just like these Doritos are probably like $3, whereas last year they're like $2.50, right? Or whatever the case, just using a random example there. You're seeing it with a lot of assets as well, whether it be the S&P 500, gold, Bitcoin, a lot of different things, right? So that's why I believe in Bitcoin, because I think no one can truly control it. Yes, I mean, obviously that's arguable in some sense, but when you look at what the technology is underlying, I think it's just the most unique alternate asset class. And I believe in it. And I think it's a great way to store wealth. But, some speculate too that GameStop's going to buy Bitcoin. I think that'd be a very interesting move. I wouldn't be opposed to it, but I've said this in the past, I'll say it again. I'm not sure if that's the best move for them, because I feel like some of you watching this might be like, what the heck? I don't want them to do that. And they have to think about all of their shareholders, right? And there might be a large majority of people who are not too fond of that idea. So, again, just speculation there. Where are we? I apologize, guys. I'm jumping all over the place today, but so much on my mind, and just one of those days too. After doing it a bit more calculations, we realized it represented a shocking 2.9 billion of overall. And see, cross that out. Half the entire company's stock market cap. See, edit again. Mad respect for this. After further review, I want to stress that I'm not sure about the manner of calculation of this data. I need to confirm the sources and the best way to calculate the actual amount of swaps being rolled over. I'm going to resend the hard claims on the swap data. Edit 2. Current estimate puts it closer to 108 million coming in the next 2 weeks. After filtering for terminated, failed, and canceled swaps, much smaller than 3 billion. I will still stress I need to confirm this number with a trader who has experience with data like this, so hold on. Again, respect. The N at the end of the ticker has merely identifies which exchange the stock is traded on in this case, and it stands for New York Stock Exchange. To be fair, I'm not sure how much of this notional position is already hedged, and much of it probably is. So this does not mean that 3 billion of buying pressure is here. Definitely agree. Yeah, I think that would be too good to be true. And usually when it's too good to be true, it is too good to be true. But as I started in the beginning, I think there's a fair bit of reason to believe that this spike was not mainly retail driven. Absolutely agree. Just as the other price spikes occurred without significant retail coordination beforehand, with the exception of the first spike in January 2021. It's also interesting to note that this spike occurred with much lower volume than previous ones. Could this one be a result of the DRS movement? Only time will tell, but similar price increase with lower volume is interesting. Yes, and also going back to the earlier part of the article, just showing the saving rates, right? And just reiterating the idea of, is this really retail buying power when it seems like there's so many people that are following GameStop for a long time that have just been consistently buying and holding, right? And obviously there's traders, there's always gonna be traders, and not everyone has the same exact strategy. But the idea that just suddenly all these retail investors at this exact 2-day period of time, 3-day period of time, from like Friday, Monday, Tuesday, like last week, all were just buying in. Give me a break. Give me a break. And also this huge move. You're going to tell me this has nothing to do with institutions. And, there's also speculation. Is it going to have to do with the CAT system being put into place? Does it have to do with T+1, which is also a little bit of the CAT system, which that's going into effect after Memorial Day weekend. So starting Tuesday, May 26th, if you weren't aware, when you sell a stock, usually it would take 2 days for the trade to settle. Now, starting that date, May 26th, it'll trade 1 day. So May 29th is going to be a pretty interesting day because it'll be the Friday before, because stock market's closed Monday, Memorial Day. So May 24th, and I keep looking over here because I got a calendar on the side here. May 24th, T+2 will be May 28th. Or sorry, May 29th, that Wednesday, because T+1 would be that Tuesday, T+2 would be that Wednesday. But since starting the 28th, it'll be a T+1 date. That means on the 29th, all the trades are going to clear from that Tuesday, and that 29th is a Wednesday. So all the trades from Tuesday will clear, the T+1, because it's the first day of it being implemented, and T+2 from the previous Friday will also clear on that date. So the 29th of May, maybe that's something to watch. Maybe that's something to have to do with what's going on here. There's also speculation of some short sellers or just shares being recalled to make sure they have their vote, because obviously there's the concerns of Proposal 4, which I'm sure you guys have seen. And don't forget to vote, with all this crazy price action going on and just the crazy past week or two GameStop's had going on. I think a lot of people are forgetting about voting. Definitely make sure to vote through your broker, computer share, however you hold your shares. Every vote counts, even if you hold 3 shares, 5 shares, 10 shares, 100 shares, whatever it is, make sure you vote. Every single vote counts. And my oh so humble opinion, Proposal 4 is a load of baloney. And if you don't want to take my word for it, the board recommends voting against Proposal 4. And it's my speculation that it's a way for bad actors to get influence on the company through diversity and inclusion, right? And listen, maybe you're thinking, oh my God, Tetron's against diversity and inclusion, right? And in a way I am, and let me clarify what I mean by that, because it's nonsense to me that it's like you're going to hire someone for just to check some boxes, right? I want the best person for the job. I don't care if it's a male, female, or whatever, just like descent. I don't care if the person's from a different planet, right? Let an alien be the CFO, right? Whoever it is, I want them to be qualified and the best fit for the job. But of course, you would never discriminate who's best fit for the job. Just go, oh well, they're this or they're that, so we don't want to hire them. No, then that's bad, right? But it should simply be whoever's most qualified and the best worker for the position. That's who should get the role. It shouldn't be influence like, oh well, they're this or they're that, or we have too many of this, too much of that, right? And again, I'm speaking very generally here, so please don't take that the wrong way in any shape or form. But it should simply be, if it's the best person for the job, then they deserve the job. That's all. That's the only factor that's needed. And then you're just open to all possible candidates. Why? I don't understand why it can't be that simple, just in general in this crazy world, right? But I'm not going to get into all that. And having said that, I believe the people on GameStop's board of directors right now are the most qualified to run the company and operate it as best as possible. And that has nothing to do with any of their genders, races, or anything like that. It's simply they care about the execution of the company. They all have a decent share position, so they have vested interest in the success of the company. And when you look at the board of directors prior for GameStop, you go, what the heck's going on here? Why is this happening? And you look at some of the names and some of the ties you have, and you could certainly speculate on that, right? And details from Red Lobster's bankruptcy filing are wild and so much mismanagement. So I want to quickly go through this because it kind of just shows an example if there's poor management and how badly it can hurt the company, right? Although even if Proposal 4 passes and this new board member comes in to supposedly promote diversity and inclusion, and again, I think that's just a cover for bringing in bad ideas. Again, just my personal opinion, you could disagree. But let's look at Red Lobster, for example, right? It's pretty funny. People are like, yeah, that shrimp did them in. That endless shrimp offer they had did them in. But maybe that's a little bit of it. But let's go through this in a second. We'll hit the chat one more time, then we'll go. See? And gee, I see you talked about swaps. Even though the notional value has been revised, what's not being mentioned is that they want the price as low as possible before entering the next swap. Anthony, thank you for being here. That's an excellent point. That's definitely a great point. Sharon, hello. Thanks for popping in. Thereby, we may go down into June 3rd, not up. Very, very possible. Certainly very possible. I'm personally prepared for anything, and I think that's the way you have to go about it as an individual. You always want to be prepared for anything, especially with GameStop. Friend today paper handed at 19 because he didn't want to go to the red. He told me, AWQ, wish I could say I'm surprised, but I have friends like that too. Where like, why didn't you tell me to get in before? I'm like, bro, I've been telling you for so long that this thing is unpredictable in the short term. If you're gonna play it short term, you could get burned. Then my friend's like, I can't believe this happened. I'm like, what if someone told? It's almost as if someone told you something crazy like this could happen in the short term, right? So I know what you mean. That's the state we're in. AWQ, that's just the way she goes. It's the way she goes sometimes. There's always going to be people like that. But just lurking and listening here, it's all good, Sven. I appreciate you being here. He bought a 15 because I told him it's a good price. AWQ, yeah, listen, there's always going to be people like that, man. There's always going to be people like that where they're kind of just trying to get in and get out. And that's totally fine, right? There's always going to be traders, and that's just the way the market works. That's fine. I've been saying this for a while, and I'll keep saying it. It's all about knowing yourself as an individual. There are some people who are trading options, making money, and then putting the money into shares. There are some people who are just strictly playing options. There's some people who are doing complex option strategies, right? Like everyone has their own cup of tea. You just got to find your flavor. If they buy Bitcoin, it shows they gave up on business ideas. I get buying a few for sure, but these billions would be a war chest. Yes, Sven, no, I definitely agree that while I would be okay with them buying Bitcoin, I totally understand that it's, again, kind of going back to the cup of tea analogy. It's not everyone's cup of tea. But I feel like even if they did, I would want it to be a very, very small portion of all of the assets on their balance sheet. And I would still want them to have like 90% cash, 10% Bitcoin in terms of like cash equivalents, marketable securities, and Bitcoin combined. And I wouldn't even, I mean, I guess I'd be more opposed to gold. I don't think there's anything too fancy about that, and there's any too wonderful of returns, right? And something I'll be looking for is in the June report, right? We could see if they've acted on their investment policy in some shape or form. They have the ability to buy other stocks. They theoretically could buy out a smaller company, and there's a lot of speculation about public companies being bought out. But what about a small private company that does something with gaming and something with technology in some shape or form that might not be publicly traded, and then they can integrate it nicely? Again, just speculation here, but. Metal squeeze. In fact, a guy cornered zinc futures and popped it so hard the London metals market halted and they undid his trades. Patrick, yeah, no, I'm definitely glad you brought that up because I do remember seeing that a while back. And see, that's the thing too, though. If there is this supposed like metal squeeze, it's like it's all like, how do you know the true value of metals when like the spot markets are so manipulated? And that's why I'm like, yeah, I don't know about owning like gold or silver personally, but. Greed Sven. Nichols Metals Market 2022. Oh, that's what it was. Yes, thank you. I don't know how to vote. Bought in US dollars, shares here in Europe. I'll look it up. Yeah, Sven, every broker's a little bit different. So yeah, I would definitely check with them because they should be able to, like, I think they legally are obligated to allow you to vote. One taking about the CAT changes and T plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. Also remember that over the next few months are several holidays that close the market a day here and there, so factor that into your plans. Yes, very good point, Anthony. Meow Meow Capital in the house. Data plays. They met, aka Meow Meow Capital. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you popping in. Ron Lola Ron. Jay, thanks for being here. Question: if Red Lobster is gone, does that get rid of Olive Garden too? I don't think so. I don't think they're owned by the same company. I'm pretty sure Olive Garden is part of the same family of restaurants as like not Buffalo Wild Wings. Darden. I think it's Darden Restaurants or something like that. Let's check real quick. But no, yeah, they're not exactly a part of that, as far as I'm aware. And if you ever wanted a company, just look it up. Darden Restaurants profile. You get a quick little summary. Darden Restaurants, together with subsidiaries, owns and operates full-service restaurants in the United States and Canada. Operates under Olive Garden, Longhorn Steakhouse, Cheddar's Scratch Kitchen, Yard House, The Capitol Grill, Seasons 52, Bahama Breeze, Eddie V's Prime Seafood, and Capital Burger brand names. So yeah, Olive Garden's here to stay, although I'm not an Olive Garden guy, so, or, yeah, no, I'm not, that is Olive Garden, just to make sure I got it right in the chat, but yeah, no, everyone's like, oh, the endless breadsticks, I don't know, I'm like, come on, let's get some real Italian food, right? But that's just me. Funny Spider, what's up, what's up? Michael Venturi, thanks for popping in. What's up, family? What a great day to end the day today. Yeah, exactly. I was surprised to see a little green, but know thyself. Yes, JPP, that is the way. Know thyself. Bitcoin on balance sheet works for MicroStrategy, but agreed, GME may be good to diversify, but not all in like Michael Saylor. Absolutely agree. If they're going to get involved in Bitcoin or any shape or form, I think it has to be a very small part of the balance sheet. Like, sort of similar to Tesla, not exactly, because it's obviously a completely different beast, and there's a whole lot of stuff going on with Elon and Tesla and all that, right? But I would want it in the same sense where it's such a small part of their balance sheet where if it, right, theoretically were to go to zero, they're fine. Everything's totally okay. They keep going as is and keep trying to do the private label brands and just find ways to expand and improve the business and get back to growth, right? But if Bitcoin 10x's over the next 10-year time frame, right? Just throwing a number out there, that would significantly help their balance sheet. So it would have to be like low risk with high reward potential. And that's also how I see Bitcoin for myself as a younger individual. I'm like, okay, if it doesn't work out in the long term, it's fine. What I'm putting into it is going to be small relative to the amount I'm going to make over the long period of time. But if it works out really, really well, as I personally believe it will, because of just inflation, and print of the money, then I'm going to benefit significantly, right? And with Bitcoin, I've been buying it for a while and I haven't really bought any recently, but I was buying it, especially going into the halving. I was like, historically speaking, the halving has always been a bullish event. And going back to Bitcoin over here, when you look at it, right? Oh, Bitcoin. How come sometimes the futures come up and then sometimes the Bitcoin to US dollar? Okay, wait. Thank you. Bitcoin to US dollar. What the heck? Refresh this. But, okay, sorry guys, I'm jumping all over the place tonight. But if you look at historically speaking, right? Anytime there's been a halving, there's been a big move. You can barely see it there, right? But you can see this big move with the halving here. We saw the big move after the halving here. And then here we are in the next halving cycle. So I was buying, in here. I wish I bought way more down here, but I'm buying into it with the idea that, after the halving cycle, there's always a crash. So I'm buying some to hold, but I'm also having bought some that I put aside that I'm prepared to sell when we get to maybe 150-ish K, because one, I'm trying to hold it at least 1 year's time so I can pay long-term capital gains tax instead of short-term. And two, it's a play on the market cycles, right? And the halving cycles that we've historically seen. But also, right? If it drops off and just floats back in the 50s and 40s and 30s even for the next several years, I'm okay with it. I'm going to hang on to it. I have a risk tolerance for it. I understand what it is, and I believe it in the long term. So if the trade kind of falls apart, I'm okay to just keep holding it. But if it continues to rally, there's definitely a lot of it I'm just going to hold for the long term. But there's some of it I'm definitely going to sell. But anything I sell, I want to make sure I hold it 1 year so I pay long-term capital gains, not short-term. So again, that's all just about knowing thyself and how you want to go about things. It's so hot in here, guys. It's getting so warm by me, and we don't have the AC in yet or like going yet. So I'm like, ugh, it's like so warm. Gotta drink some sparkling water. I'm gonna miss Red Lobster cheddar biscuits. Mega, I gotta be honest with you. I don't think I've ever been to Red Lobster. Come to think of it, I really don't think I have. I'm trying to think. Maybe when I was like younger, but I really don't think I've ever been there, honestly. Like, also, I'm not really a huge seafood guy. Like, I like shrimp. I would have been down for the endless shrimp, but I'm really not a huge seafood guy. And on the topic of Red Lobster, I do want to go through this right here, real quick, and it just shows how bad influence on the board of directors and why, to me, Proposal 4 for GameStop is a pretty significant risk, because you see how bad mismanagement can really hurt a company. And obviously, this is more of an extreme example, and just because one new board member comes on for GameStop, theoretically, if somehow Proposal 4 does pass, which I, again, personally don't believe it will, I personally hope it does not, the board recommends voting against it. But of course, make your own decision. But this is what mismanagement can do. $1 billion in debt, $30 million in cash. Previous PE owner sold land and leased it back to Red Lobster at above market rates. $20 endless shrimp costs $11 million. But the interesting part is that one of the chain's owners is a Thai seafood firm, Thai Union, which also owns Chicken by the Sea, and it may have used endless shrimp to dump its own shrimp supply through the 578 restaurants in North America. If that's true, that's absolutely crazy. Thai Union became the only Red Lobster shrimp vendor, overcharging for shrimp and skipping quality reviews. Thai Union has written off its 500 million plus investment. Red Lobster's had 5 CEOs in the last 5 years, sales down 30% since 2019. Crazy. Has historically been a large, let's say, yeah, Red Lobster Master Holdings (GP) has historically been a large-scale supplier to Red Lobster. I understand that the Thai Union exercised an oversized influence on the company's shrimp purchasing, as indicated, for example, Mr. Kenny's April 2023 perpetrated direction to Thai Union to continue producing shrimp for Red Lobster that did not flow through the traditional supply process or bid cycle or adhere to the company's demand projections. Interesting stuff, right? Just interesting stuff, and how companies can be destroyed through just mismanagement and people with certain agendas. And I'm sure there's people who were shorting it, right? Or is Red Lobster even public? Let's see. I'll just say, wait a minute, I didn't see it. Yeah, it's a private company, but still, it just shows some of the things that can go on. And again, that shrimp connection, it sounds funny, right? But it's also like, how is that allowed to happen? And the unfortunate thing is, even with the evidence presented, and obviously this is just a very small piece, it would have to be looked into a lot more. is this really, like, is anyone really going to get in trouble for this? And people are going to lose their jobs, right? It's just unfortunate that this is the type of thing that takes place in America every single day and across the world. And another just random point I'm thinking of, I don't know if you guys saw Peruvian Bull's tweet today. And I do have to watch this backwards because I am very curious now. So, let's see. This is where he tweets about correcting. Hi, everyone. After reading some comments, I decided to resend the hard claims on the swap data. I'm not 100% sure we're calculating the final notional correctly, so please take it with a grain of salt. Again, much respect. Let's see. Basically, he tweeted today, I don't know where it was, but essentially, seed means to take. And if you look at seed and co, it's like, oh, that's the DDC. Like, that's crazy. Like, it's actually crazy how that all works. But wait, where was the other one? Still a retweets here. Be prepared for stock lower here. The most manipulated securities on earth never act like they should. Again, prepared for anything. Parasitic private equity claims another victim. Red Lobster. Oh, this is it. That last line. The word seed means to surrender possession. How did I not see this before? You don't actually own any stocks. Seriously, you don't. They're all owned by Seeding Company and its parent, DTCC, Depository Trust Clearing Corporation, a member of the Federal Reserve. And they're attempting to tokenize it all. The word seed means to surrender possession. And, you know, it is crazy when you start thinking about this tokenization stuff and the idea of a central bank digital currency, CBDC. It's pretty alarming, right? Because if there does wind up being a CBDC, right, a central bank digital currency, you see all this like inflation going on. You see all this money being printed, and because the dollar has been seen as the world reserve currency, and this is a lot of what Peruvian Bull's work talks about, because it's seen as the world reserve currency, because we've been printing, and I say we because I'm American, we've been printing money for so long, a lot of other countries have started to as well. So like what there's no way out at this point essentially. So that's why I think Bitcoin is emerging. But also, like, if you're thinking from the government's perspective, why would they want to, how would they get out of it? What if you just start tokenizing everything and make a central bank digital currency? You can kind of just put it all in your own system type of thing and just make it even more complex and less fixable, if that makes sense, but more in line with your solution to how you want to go about things. And again, I'm just throwing a bunch of things out there today, guys. I think it's the heat. I think I gotta get on a fan real quick. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna put the fan on, and I'm gonna be able to focus way more. Maybe that's why I'm like all over the place right now. 1 second. All right, now we're cooling off. Now we're cooling off. We're good. It's so warm in here. It's finally getting so warm by me. I'm enjoying the warmer weather, but it's too warm in here. I made my own. They sell the mix at Costco. Danzo, that's the way, man. Making your own food is absolutely the way. You save money. It's way better for you. Everywhere you eat out now, especially in America, and I'm sure it's much better in Europe, and I'll see when I go there this summer. But everything here, like anywhere you eat out, it's like, it's just loaded with salt, and it just cannot be that good for you. And it took me a long time to realize this, but really, I'm trying to be healthier, and you just save money too by eating at home. So if the no mix no longer sells, the recipes are online. Exactly. Private equity doing damage. Yep. Proposal 4 is just virtue signaling to special interests. It should fail. We shall see. LAC looking good under 450, which should run back to 5 and higher with so much cash and biggest lithium in the USA or part of the world to upgrades. $10 with plenty of cash. Job has no debt with 21.2 million in cash with book value of 93 cents and 8 funds bought between 60 and $1. The price target of $2, which at close is 35 cents. Listen, Michael, appreciate these insights, but not really the stocks for me. I mean, I'll check them out. What is LAC? Lithium? I mean, yeah, I think lithium is going to be in high demand as there continues to be more and more electric vehicles coming up. But what the heck's going on? That's the only trade for like 5 days. And then what's the other one you said? Job? Interesting. The GE group? Very interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Penny stocks? I don't know. Penny stocks, when you're looking at OTC, I mean, it's on the New York Stock Exchange, but look how much. Yeah. I mean, listen. Not the stock for me, maybe the stock for thee. They can't roll swaps to another now because nobody wants to risk 100% plus loss. Call options in the money. GameStop improving fundamentals. T plus one cat system. Big GME news incoming soon. Many possibilities. They're literally trapped. Literally fuck. Boom. Listen, yeah, those are all possibilities as to what's going on and why we're seeing these moves now. There's no doubt about that. I definitely think it's all potential factors. There's no guarantees as to what the factors are, but again, I'm just trying to cover everything going on, let everyone out there make their own decisions as to what they believe is going on. So let's get back to, we almost went through this here. So could this be a result of DRS movement? Only time will tell, but similar price increase with lower volume is interesting. And this is the weekly chart. What a weekly candle from last week, right? And all the accounts like, oh, it's over for GameStop. But when you look at GameStop week over week from 2 weeks ago to like the end of 2 weeks ago to the end of last week, the price was still up 27%. And then you look at the week, like if you look at the performance since its low, right? Its low was $10. So everyone forgets, like literally just earlier this month, right? May 2nd, it was at $11 a share. So anyone that bought $11 a share is still theoretically up 100% right now. And again, I can't speak for everyone, but I know it seems that there are a lot of individuals like myself who've just been dollar cost averaging. And of course, that's not everyone. There's traders, people getting in and out, everyone doing all kinds of different things, whether it be options, not swaps, because individuals aren't doing swaps, but everyone has their own strat, right? But I think there's definitely a lot of people who are just buying and consistently holding. So with that, it's still way up from $10 a share. So to me, like, yeah, I get it. Some people are looking at 22 like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. It's so horrible. But man, like, whatever. Seed as in concede. Audit the DTC. That's where the financial bodies are buried. Anthony, your words, not mine, man, but appreciate that comment. Oh, yeah. So much going on, guys. So much going on. It's so annoying. I swear my job's always busy when GameStop gets exciting. But finally, the last bombshell dropped Friday. That GameStop filed a mixed shelf offering to sell 45 million shares to raise capital. Highlight that. Oh, I don't know if it's going to block it. This includes common stock that's publicly listed, as well as other types of equity and equity options. The price plummeted quickly on trading Friday, down from $30 to $20, and many on Twitter lauded this event, stating that it was all over and retail investors had gotten rug pulled. However, given that a lot of the buying is institutional, this could be just GameStop taking advantage of high prices to raise capital or do something strategic, which isn't a bad idea for the company in the long run, all things considered. Definitely agree. And see, this is where we see they could do one of these seven or any combination of these seven offerings. Although, some people, and definitely me originally, I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Like, why would they do the filing like this? But if you look at their last filing, it said the same type of thing. And they only did just simple Class A common stock. And when you look at other large companies, when they file to issue shares, a lot of times it looks very similar to this. So it doesn't necessarily mean they're indicating, like, oh, preferred stock or depository shares or warrants or anything like that is coming. So just temper your expectations. I think that's always a good thing to do. And just from being in GameStop a long time, that's something I've naturally just come to do over time. The share offerings included preferred stock, depository shares, warrants, stock purchase contract units, and subscription rights. The expansion of these types of shares tells us that something more may be at hand. A likely option is a possible merger with another firm, as these more specialized forms of equity are normally given as in consideration to another company when firms do a merger acquisition. Could this be preparation for a move like this? Potentially. It's hard to imagine GameStop will sell all the common equity for cash when they already have already are sitting on over $1 billion. Crucially, they also released an 8K report early, which had an interesting clue. So, again, I think originally I was like, okay, maybe that's what's going on here, but I'm starting to think like, not right now, because also in one of the filings, it basically says like we have no plans at this given moment in time to make a acquisition of any kind. But that was at the time of the merger. So theoretically, this week was not that moment in time, right? Because now time has elapsed. So they could at any point in the future, at any given point they so choose to, because of the investment policy in place. The company intends to use net proceeds from the offering, if any, for general corporate purposes, which may include acquisitions and investments in accordance, again, with the investment policy. But may, right? May is a very key word. Not may the month we're in, but they may include acquisitions and investments in accordance with the investment policy. It's just saying they have the potential to if they so choose to. So will they? Maybe. Time's gonna have to tell. Hold on, now I gotta lower this fan. It's blowing too fast. I feel like I'm gonna be blown away out of this chair here. But oh, accidentally just put it higher. We're good? Okay. So listen, all I'm saying, and again, I'm just throwing everything out there right now, and I feel like all these different ideas are shooting through my head because I want everyone to make their own determination. And you guys will throw ideas in the chat. I'll bounce off them. There's going to be things I say that make you think of something in a different shape or form. And it's all about just continuing to learn and trying to figure out what's going on day to day with GameStop, markets as a whole, and just becoming a better investor, right? And there's a separate part of the filing which says, like, there's no current plans to make an acquisition, which again, just because at the time of the filing there wasn't any plans doesn't mean in a week or two there won't be, right? But at the same time, you shouldn't just depend on like, oh, this is certainly definitely happening right now. But I'm just saying, anything's possible. Temper expectations. But this was the early preliminary financial results for Q1 2024. So I have the chart. I'm sure you guys have seen it. I didn't pull it up prior to the stream, but I'm not going to update it yet until we get the official Q1 results so I can get the specific numbers. The most unfortunate thing to me about the numbers is one, the top line revenue they're expecting in the range of 0.872 billion to 0.892 billion, which means they're expecting revenue around 870 million to 890 million, somewhere in that range, compared to 1.2 billion of the previous year. And SG&A is going to be between 290 million and 300 million, compared to 345 million last year. So, yes, obviously a lot of people have been talking about them cutting costs. The unfortunate thing is that's roughly 33% of their revenue, and we've seen SG&A now floating around the low 20% range of total revenue. So that was definitely a little bit disappointing to see, and a sharper drop off than I hoped. Also, with the net loss for the quarter, I was hoping it was like maybe a single-digit $1 million loss, like anywhere from like 1 to 9 million, and just ideally a small profit. Still an improvement year over year, but obviously not the most ideal. And then cash equivalents, and marketable securities are expected to be in the range of a little over a billion, essentially, between 1.073 billion and 1.093 billion. So just over $1 billion worth, about a billion and 1 million, billion and 1 billion. But yeah, 1.01 or 1.07 billion as of the end of the fiscal quarter, compared to 1.3 billion at the close of the same quarter last year, or not the quarter last year, just the same quarter before. Same quarter. Oh my gosh. Why is my English so broken today, guys? Then the quarter before. They also demonstrate here that net sales are expected to continue to struggle, cash balance is expected to fall, and SG&A expenses are going to be 50 million less than the prior year. All of this points strongly to an acquisition, and Twitter user Flocken Flasky stated it directly. Also saw from the 8K from today versus last quarter, after accounting for an estimated projected loss of 27 to 37 million, the cash equivalents projected balance shows a delta of 71 to 102 million that is unaccounted for outside the losses. Could be the size of the first acquisition. Yes, that is very possible, but what you do have to keep in mind is that's not the free cash flow. That's the net income, right? Right here. That this between 27 and 37 negative. And yes, that there is a big move in the cash equivalents, marketable securities, but it's really going to come down to what the free cash flow is. But it is certainly possible that this 102 million was used to buy something. You know, that's where the speculation could come in. Is it Bitcoin? Is it a small company of some kind that they're acquiring and going to integrate within their business? Because if it is a small company, maybe they can take it on, rebrand it to be under the GameStop name. And if it's rebranded under the GameStop name, you know, that's obviously a shift that takes place, and then they can get it all within that Texas warehouse. And ideally, it would be a profitable business because they don't need something that's going to help them continue to break even. They need something to really drive them forwards in terms of the bottom line. And maybe because they already have the manufacturing set up in Texas, that's where it would be integrated into. And then if the company had, let's say, manufacturing like Delaware or Pennsylvania or somewhere random like that, right? Just naming random ass states, they would then wind that down and put it all within one place where GameStop currently has its warehouse. We'll have to wait and see. In the meantime, we can welcome the return of the kitty. But, you know, as we saw today, no Roaring Kitty tweets. And, you know, again, I'll have to watch back. Shout out Roaring Pika. I'll have to watch that back. But listen, you know, I really don't think Ron Kitty being back or not, like, it's not going to impact my decision. I know, right? I know it's not going to impact my decision, but I think there's a lot of other people too that, whether he came back or not, we're going to approach GameStop the same way. And like, yeah, it was exciting and the memes were fun. Don't get me wrong. Like, I love memes. Memes are good for the soul, but it's not materially impacting like how I'm going to invest my money and how other individuals are going to invest their money, right? Like, for some people, yeah, maybe it's going to impact the way they trade, but I don't know. I just think it is what it is with Run Kitty. And you know, some were saying like maybe he's going to stream. I just really didn't think that was the case, because just imagine like literally anything he says, they would be like, lawsuit, you're manipulating the stock, you're controlling the price, you're trying to flock everyone into GameStop again, blah, 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 right? Whatever nonsense. Meanwhile, all these guys, right? Bill Ackman, Jim Cramer can go on CNBC every day and tout all these different names. And that's totally fine. But a guy posting memes, right, draws the former SEC chair to say, oh, you know, we can't, this disgusts me. We shouldn't be having this in our markets, right? Like, it's like, come on, give me a break, brother. Give me a break. Anyone here know of Mark Cahotas? I know of him. I don't know too much about him. Like, I just kind of heard the name. Watch GME and XRT on reg showed threshold security list again. Then it will get even worse for the criminals. Jay, yeah, no, I've been kind of looking out for that. I haven't seen anything about it yet. Blocked by Cahotas. So Cahotas is on a tear, blasting Roaring Kitty Keith Gill. Weird to me since he was close founder, level part of T0, which is a legal blockchain token for stock dividends to deal with shorts. You think Cahotas would understand what the GME community hate about the system, but Cahotas is blind about it for some reason. Interesting, Patrick. There's definitely a lot you can speculate on that, but got blocked. Top line down due to closing over leveraged amounts of stores, as well as closing unprofitable ones. Creating efficiency with less stores and less overhead, currently increasing bottom line net profits is key. Absolutely, Jay. Couldn't agree more. The only concerning thing is you would hope that a lot of the stores closing, it would transition to online revenue. And I think, you know, getting into trading cards, again, it's not the most groundbreaking thing. You know, the Bears are going to be like, oh, you think this is going to make them profitable? Like, you think this in CandyCon? It's like, no, it's just about doing little things right and continuing to just do more and more. And, like, it's going to take time, right? But where did I put it? Oh, yeah. So, I love the memes recently. Starts trading and suddenly, big counts. Talk shit about GameStop. And is that not so true, though? And again, I think part of it is trendy. Part of it is people having certain tensions in some shape or form, but also just part of it is just people like to hop on the waves, right? It's like herd mentality, especially with the big accounts on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it these days. By the way, guys, if you don't already, drop a follow on here at Tetron Invest. I always tweet out when I'm streaming, putting out content, just putting out GameStop updates and other market updates. So I would appreciate if you guys follow me on there and keep up with me. But you know, with GameStop selling the cards online, this is going to be a primarily online business. So yes, you're going to be able to trade in your cards at stores pretty much anywhere but Connecticut, Georgia, Kentucky, Mississippi, New York, Tennessee, and Texas. Anywhere else you'll be able to trade in cards. Oh, sorry, those are the ones it's now available in. My apologies. And it's going to be coming soon to locations near you. But then they're also going to be selling them online. It's not like they're going to keep them in one store. Why would they do that? There's very limited amount of market then, right? If you put it online, they're probably going to ship them to the warehouse, I would imagine, put them online, and then anywhere in the world, any individual could choose to, I'm not necessarily anywhere in the world, but you have a way wider market of individuals to reach who may want a particular card, right? So also, when you think about cards, very limited in terms of storage. It doesn't need to take up like a huge part of the warehouse or anything like that. It very tiny. Just got to keep them organized. Obviously, got to keep them in good shape, especially when they're graded, right? When they're graded like this, they're in a case. And right now, they're only doing PSA. It would be interesting to see if one day maybe they started doing grading of their own. I think that could be very interesting. Although, with cards, I mean, I don't know, I'm not the most knowledgeable on it, right? This is pretty much like the only one I own right now that's graded. PSA is the most widely accepted, and you know, I would say in the trading card community, it's probably looked at as not so good if it's not a PSA rating. So it makes sense right now that they're only doing PSA graded cards, and I agree, 8, 9, or 10. Why bother with like less than that at this point? But I think that'll get more business online, and when you get more business online, naturally that's just going to drive more traffic to your website. And if you have more people on your website, maybe they buy something else. Like, oh well, I really want this card. GameStop has it for the best price, and I trust them to actually get it to me as what they say it is compared to like eBay, and you might have to deal with some suspicious stuff, right? Although I think for the most part it's good on there. But then, oh, well, you know what? I needed a headset too. Like I'm on the website anyway. I'm gonna buy it from GameStop. So just more and more ways to get people shopping GameStop, and then also you just got to have sticky customers, and when you have sticky customers, then they continue to buy, and then obviously you upsell on the checkout. Like, oh, do you need a shelf for cards, right? Like I'd like to see them maybe sell something to house the cards, or not house, but kind of display them, right? For anyone that has a collection, they want certain cards on display, something like that, maybe. That's something they could kind of upsell in the checkout, right? Because upselling is a huge part of e-commerce. So like when you buy like a computer, for example, right? Let's say I bought a computer on GameStop's website, like on the way out, right? It should be upselling like, hey, did you want to get a headset too? Hey, did you want a new mouse and keyboard as well for a good price here? So they'll recommend stuff like that. And then when they have their own in-house private label brands, those are the things they can upsell on the checkout for clients. I'm talking like I'm at work for customers. So just again, some ideas there. Just throwing a bunch of stuff out there, but yeah, I think I'm gonna get it ready to wrap it up here for today. Combing through the options flow from today, the end of day spike came from purchases of 5 million of in the money calls at $20 strike. It may be bullish or be used as locates to short more. No one knows. Anthony, thank you. I appreciate you dropping that insight in the chat. But yeah, exactly. No one truly knows. Jobs looks string, which could rally back to $1 with price target of 250. Hey, Michael, I'm happy for it if you trade jobs and make money, but not the stonks for me. John Lazy, thanks for being here. LEC, look at earnings. Okay, GME invested $600 billion in the company. The government loan was 2.25. Cajotas tried infiltrating the GME Reddit community. He got turned away and he went to AMC. I had a back and forth with him after I confronted him about his violent outbursts. He was in a pro AMC space. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I get why people show respect to people still in AMC and talking about it, because there's some of the same things, like, hey, look, there's some really strange things that happen in the market. Like, look at this manipulation, right? But there's no way AMC has an excess amount of shares with the amount of shares they've issued, right? So if there was truly excess shares of AMC trading in the market, they made up for it. AMC just made up for it in a sense by just constantly diluting. Like, look at the amount of shares of AMC that have been created over, like, since January 2021. It's absolutely remarkable, and it's literally, in my opinion, the only reason they're still alive today. Because what would they do? Pay off their high interest debt with even higher interest debt, because we're in a higher interest rate environment now. They were taking on a lot of debt when we weren't in a higher interest rate environment, and it was at a higher interest rate because their credit rating is not very good. So the thing is, like, I understand why people talk to people who are interested in like AMC and like the community, so to speak, in just like some of the weird things that go on in the market. But the thing is, to me, like, I feel like AMC investors are very emotional, whereas GameStop investors are very logical. Like, listen, there are strange things that go on, and this company, GameStop, is turning around and improving. And yes, it's going to take more time. And like, I'm not the only one saying, like, they have to execute more, they have to do more to ultimately drive forwards. And I've been saying for a while that if they do want anything strange underlying to bubble to the surface, all they have to do is succeed, right? All they have to do is succeed, drive forward, find a way to get revenue growth back on track, make sure net income subsequently rises with it. And if that's happening, anyone betting against it is going to get burned. That's just the bottom line. Anything strange underneath will bubble to the surface. With AMC, it's more just, to me, like people pounding their fists on the table, like, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. I'm like, yeah, but look at the CEO of the company who handsomely compensates himself, as well as the other executives of the company. So, yeah, it's wrong. Like, the things going on in the market generally, right? Like, strange market mechanics and just the things that institutions are allowed to get away with the nature of how the markets function. Yes, that's wrong, but what is AMC really doing to make anything happen? That's all I'm saying. So that's why I don't understand why people go to the AMC side, because to me it's just straight up emotion. It's really just emotion if you're involved. And other people are like, oh, well, movies are great. I'm like, yeah, I like watching movies, but there's other movie theaters that are local theaters, and they make sure they turn a profit, right? Because if they don't, they're gonna have to close their doors. They're not a large public corporation that's gonna be able to just go issue shares, right? And then, hey, wait a minute, let's look at AMC's executives' compensation. Are they being compensated in shares? Are they truly invested in the success of the company? And that's why what Ryan Cohen's doing is incredible to me, because, you know, I think it's so overshadowed by I mean, listen, I'm not trying to step on any toes here by all this Bed Bath & Beyond stuff and just a lot of different crazy things thrown out there about him. But people forget he has not been paid a single dollar, and he's CEO and chairman of the board for GameStop. Oh, sorry, I thought my mic got disconnected. But he's CEO and chairman of the board for GameStop. He's not been compensated a single penny. His entire ownership stake was money he spent on his own to acquire his position. And he very easily could have sold after January 21, right? Although a lot of people could argue, if he did sell up here, he'd probably be dealing with a lot of lawsuits in terms of like market manipulation. But then even then, when you look at it, it's like, how would he have manipulated the price action? Like he couldn't have controlled what was to come at that time, right? That was just complete frenzy, right? The crazy sneeze. But did he sell? No. All he did was buy more 2 other time periods, right? What was it? I think June. I know it was like once in 2022 and once in 2023. I forgot the exact dates off the top of my head. But the point is, he never sold a single share and he bought more twice. And we've also seen other board members accumulate more shares, mostly Alan Adel and Larry Chang. But they're invested in the success of the company and they're showing, like, okay, we're going to ride this out. We're going to keep driving this company forward. And you don't see a lot of companies doing that these days. And when you do, for other companies, right, typically it's seen as very bullish. But when GameStop's doing it and has executives doing it, it's nothing. It's nothing. Look at their sales. The revenue's terrible. Blah, 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 right? And listen, this journey's far from over. This journey's so, so far from over. And I think I'm going to get ready to wrap it up here. I do apologize, guys. Sometimes, I don't know. Some streams I'm just clicking and I feel like I got a whole order of what I'm trying to say and it's just coming out all smooth. Other times, all of a sudden, I'm like, so many ideas are just popping in my head because I'm just literally doing this in real time and I'm reading your chats and I'm here and I'm there. And then I'm like at the end, like where we are right now, and I'm like, I hope this made sense. I hope I wasn't jumping around too much and people are like, what is wrong with this guy? You know what I mean? But really, whether you guys spend a little bit of time on the stream, a lot of time on the stream, I appreciate you all because I understand, everyone's busy. It's a busy world we live in. So anytime you spend here with me, consuming any of my content in any shape or form, I'm greatly, greatly appreciative. And I'm just going to keep working to be better, keep trying to learn more to share with you guys. And I encourage you guys to do the same. You got to keep learning. You got to keep learning. It's not easy, right? It's not easy to keep learning. And sometimes I'm tired after work and I'm like, I don't want to do anything else. I just want to sit around and watch YouTube, TV, whatever. But got to force myself sometimes, right? No, there's more to read. There's more due diligence to do. There's more to learn. Whether it's GameStop, market mechanics, Bitcoin, anything, right? Sometimes I even read about other stocks and I look at them, okay, well, this is crazy, or, oh, this is pretty interesting. Doesn't mean I necessarily make a move or something like that, but you got to keep reading and learning and understanding, because if you don't ever look at other stocks, right, like, even if you're maybe only involved in GameStop and that's your first stock kind of getting you involved in markets, you've never really invested in anything else, I still encourage you to read other companies' financial filings, because then you can draw comparisons and you just get perspective of how GameStop does their filings and the information on their filings relative to other filings out there. And speaking of, yes, the preliminary results were released already for GameStop, and we have an idea of what revenue is going to be, net income, SG&A. But, as it was put at the end of the article here, also saw from the 8K today versus last quarter, after accounting for an estimated projected loss of 27 to 37 million, cash equivalents projected balance shows a delta of 71 to 102 million that is unaccounted for outside of the losses. Could be the size of the first acquisition. So we'll see if there's anything like that on the earnings report that comes out. If there's anything that says, okay, well, we bought this, we bought a small piece of this company with our investment policy, we bought some Bitcoin, we bought some gold, we did this, we did that, right? Like, we would see that. But also, take this with a grain of salt in the sense, or temper your expectations, because it's also possible it's their free cash flow, right? Because if their free cash flow was like negative 200 something million for the quarter, that would explain how the cash equivalents got to what they are now compared to the 1.3 billion of the previous quarter. So again, always temper your expectations, especially with GameStop. I'm not here to give you financial advice. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm not here to tell you what's going to happen or not going to happen. I'm here to just document, show you guys all the information, let you make your own determinations, and just share what I think along the way and just keep trying to be better. But can't thank you guys enough for being here. I really can't. But let's see. Let's hit the chat one more time. Top line revenues increasing will happen as we transition our business model with more products, more tech, more exclusive partnerships, mergers, acquisitions, etc. Exactly, Jay. I totally agree. But really, what it boils down to for me is execution. They gotta execute on all those things, and of course, it's easier said than done. But time will tell if they do it. or slowly open more stores in better prime locations is able to. Yeah, Jay, something I've long pondered. I'm like, are we going to see more stores like the Milan, Italy store? I think that's a very interesting concept. I kind of wish we got a little bit more in the report or just any information put out, right, as to the performance of that specific store and if they plan to replicate it. I guess no at this time because we haven't really heard them say anything about it, but I think that's a very interesting concept. If you put a store like that in New York City, on in I don't know any other major city in the world, like just one in each of the most you could arguably most major city in each country in Europe, and then a few in the United States, like a few major cities in the United States. I think it's a very interesting idea, right? That has a lot of foot traffic. Yes, the rent is expensive, but you have a lot of people coming in and out, and you have a lot of tourists there as well. So again, just about getting the name out there and just expanding customer base. Adam Aaron is not service the debt. Exactly that, exactly. And accompanying possible player would generate more revenue too once it all happens. Yeah, Jay, player's not necessarily dead. People think like, oh yeah, like it's completely done. I kind of feel like they've shied away from it, just given how they moved away or they wound down the NFT marketplace and the GameStop wallet, given the regulatory scrutiny that is surrounding pretty much anything with digital assets right now. And GameStop's not the only company. There's a lot of other companies that have kind of got out of digital assets in any shape or form, right? Maybe they're involved in a little bit, a lot of it. There's a lot of companies that have shied away from it because, like, all right, we don't want to deal with this regulatory BS. Obviously, a company like Coinbase, right, or Riot, like the Bitcoin miner, that's their whole business model, so they're not going to shy away from it. But I'm just saying, a company such as GameStop that's dabbling in it, they're like, all right, is this really worth it for us? Do we want to really wind up getting stuck in a lawsuit where we're going to have to spend hundreds of millions of dollars? I think that's the unfortunate reality of it. But, it's not completely gone. Exactly. Just look how Adam Aaron looks to begin with. How are you going to trust that guy? Are you mad at me? No, Mr. Doodle, not at all. I know what you mean. GME just up. Data plays. Hey, your word's not mine. But yeah, zooming out, this is the monthly chart for GameStop, and this is truly an amazing candle. We got 9 more trading days left in the month, so we'll see what the candle looks like at the end of the month. But it's truly an amazing candlestick. And it's also the first time, looking at shout out badass trader, looking at the Dorito of Doom. It's the first time we completely broke out of that, right? So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Do you like poodles? Sorry if I made you mad. I just want to know, are poodles like GME? Do you like poodles? Are you mad at me? Dude, Dr. Doodle, Mr. Doodle, whatever your name is. I don't know what you're talking about, man. There's no hostility here. You're all good. Oh, trying to get caught up on the chat. Oh, the chat doesn't want to scroll. Too bad Steam isn't for sale. I couldn't think of a better place for GME to spend $2 billion via acquisition. LOL, one could dream. The asking price would probably be too much for it, even if it ever went public. Exactly, Anthony G. Exactly. Steam is ginormous. That would be epic for them to be able to acquire that, or even get a piece of it in some shape or form. But it's unfortunate. Adam Aaron spends his entire dilution raise just on himself, just as a comp. Exactly, bro. My muscles are so flipping large. It's truly insane. Like people look at me in public in awe. I'm so jacked, bro. I'm beast. Okay, Mr. Doodle. That's good for you. I think GameStop should turn into a gym, bro. People admire dudes with huge muscles. Thank you. Yeah, I'm sure you're talking about me. I'm just saying muscles are so huge. I get bad babes noise off my GME dog. I feel like maybe this is my cousin. My cousin's always trolling some about the gym, so that could be him. Maybe it's you. I don't know. I don't think so. Born without fingers. Oh my god, you're trolling, but funny trolling. That's the rest of our lifetime is ape father without a doubt. Hey, Mr. Doodle. Everyone's entitled to their opinions, man. Thanks for the good laugh as we're wrapping up here. Pretty funny. I don't know what you're talking about, but it's making me laugh. Thumbs up to you and GME Tetron. Don, thanks for being here, man. Thanks for joining me on this journey. And long journey is far to go. Far from done. I'm not. I only buy based on Ape Father's opinions. He always wins, bro. Mr. Doodle, good luck, brother. Good luck. You're going to need it. He agrees, though. Adam Aaron is weird. Just joined. Where do you think is the first resistance? Ojish, thanks for popping in. I'm about to wrap it up here. It's hard to say, man. It's really hard to say because I'm really not a TA guy. That's really just not what I'm most familiar with. So I couldn't really even tell you. I mean, I just like to see, right now, generally speaking, if we can kind of hold this $19, $20 level for a little while, I think that would be nice to see, right? Maybe a resistance point is busting back over 30. We saw a little bit of resistance in the pre-market the other day. But then again, I don't know. And that's also, when the preliminary earnings came out, the dilution filing came out, which again, to be clear, a lot of people think, oh, they've already diluted all the shares, right? They've already done all the dilution. No, that's not the case. They filed to be able to dilute. They have the ability to dilute when they so choose to. Target price on Spearminty. Target price on Spearminty. Spearminty says target price on GME. And this is how you know I got to wrap it up. I'm totally just freaking mixing up my words right now. But only up. That's what a wise man said. Only up. But when it goes up, I'll worry about it. Mr. Doodle is a sheep. Target is the only thing you see in the sky at night. Exactly, Sven. Exactly. Trace Trades is an excellent TA guy. Hit him up. All right, Mr. Doodle. You've had too much to drink. I'm gonna have to ask you to leave, sir. The moon here looks almost full. You guys are too funny in the chat, man. All right, for real. I'm wrapping it up tonight. So no stream on Wednesday. I do apologize. Great friend of mine's birthday party, so I got to be there. So no stream tomorrow. I'm sorry, Wednesday. Possibly tomorrow, possibly Thursday. Keep an eye out. I'm going to post on Twitter when the next one will be. So just keep an eye out there. Oh, man, you know what I just realized? I never even tweeted out the stream tonight. I always tweet out the stream. So I guess I forgot today. But, yeah, I don't know. Time to wrap it up here. At Tetron Invest. Keep up with me. Whether the memes I'm posting, information about GameStop, markets as a whole, Bitcoin, the live stream schedule, that's where you can find me. So thanks so much for popping in. You know, even you, Mr. Doodle. Tetron, yes, I have X at Tetron Invest right there for you, brother. They're right there. Player's still alive. Look, bro. Jay, I'm not totally opposed to it. Player trademark number 9802118 is dead, but another trademark serial number is open, still live. Series number 98021. All right, Jay, I'm saving this information right now. It's good until October 31st. Okay, bet. I'm putting it on my laptop right here so I can take a look into that. I'll let you know on next stream about that. Just subbed, Spearminty. Thank you. Appreciate that, man. Really, really, really appreciate that. And again, I appreciate anyone being here, whether you're watching this live, watching it back, watching me a little bit, watching me a lot of it. Anytime you spend with me, I'm greatly appreciative of it. And hope everyone out there has a great night. Even you, Mr. Doodle. Even you. Have a great night. Freshmaker, take care, man.